Greetings, I am Galea. Welcome to each and every one of you. And yes, on behalf of all the galactic circles, intergalactic circles, leagues and legions of love, with you, sweet Susie and Linda and Steve, I broadcast this to the entire planet, that they may also come to know and understand of our participation, of our partnership in this ascension process. And yes, we know and understand that the focus of this has need to be upon the human collective, upon this brilliant collective, anchoring the Mother's plan and the fullness of her energy in form. But you are not alone in this anchoring, my friends, my family, our allies. There is so much afoot. And yes, of course, we all hear your pleas of show me. And it is not like a child being truculent. It is you simply saying, I am anxious, I am excited, and I am ready to go forth. And I am ready to go forth in the fullness of what this unfoldment means in the physical, visible, human time, space, width, depth, reality. So let us talk a little bit about what we are doing, about what our perceptions are of how things are progressing, and how you and we are progressing hand in hand. When we have begun the flow of Porlana C, think of it as our life force energy, which is basically our love energy, our consciousness, and our awareness. For there is not delineation between these various elements of our being. We do not say to you, well, now we will send you the energy of what our physicality is about, or our spirituality is about, or our wisdom is about. No, it does not work that way. We have sent you the totality of our being. And you do see this collectively and individually as the Porlana C, laser, flame, beam, it matters not. But it certainly is that intensified, what you can think of as gaseous blue, with a tinge of violet. Saint Germain is never one to ignore or leave out. We do this to raise your frequency, not to interfere in your conscious choices. We would never do that. It would be contrary to the Mother's plan. it would be contrary to universal law, to which we very strictly adhere, not because it is required by some thundering God, but because it works, and because we align ourselves with the truth of that operational manual. What the Porlana C is also doing is, yes, through this electrical current that is in the very air you all breathe, is embedding, awakening, activating the human psyche, and particularly not just you who are already aware and yearning for the first contact, which has already taken place in so many ways, but that is a side conversation. What we are doing is activating in the human collective consciousness the awareness, the acceptance, and might we even say the beginning of an embrace that, of course, your star family is present, that they always have been, and that they come in peace, that they come in friendship, that they come in the sharing of technology and healing. This is going into the collective human psyche, gently, softly, electrically, and at the speed of love. Now, an aside on this point, because there are many, and this is what we are eradicating on the human plane, who would say, well, that sounds like mind control. That sounds like an override of our natural, and I do place that in quotation marks, of your natural inclination to self-defense, of fight or flight. We would never intervene or override or interfere with those very important responses that you have built into you. But what has happened over time, and we are talking thousands of years, is that fight or flight mechanism within the human collective has become, well, it has been tampered with, so that it is no longer really a survival fight or flight mechanism. That the human collective in the downfall and the abuse of authority and control, and you know the litany, has become fearful of so much, and fearful, now might I say, of what is foreign. Now, think of the many adjustments that have been made, even in the last several hundred years, that your world was flat. Not. That as Saint Germain began his journey to new lands, that there were discoveries of different kinds, shall we say, of people that lived in harmony with nature, that still anchored the understanding of family and tribe, and that does not matter whether it was in the Americas or in Africa. So the understanding, the collective consciousness adjusted. And even today, many of you have traveled far and wide upon your planet, and some of you within the planet. But even if you have never traveled, you have the human psyche, knowing, acceptance, experience. You may have never met a person who is Chinese. You may have never traveled to China, but you certainly accept that those people exist and that you share the human component with them, that you share it with all people, regardless of race or color or religious tendencies or beliefs. So that has been a massive expansion in which we are pleased to say, along with many of the Ascended Masters, that understanding has grown. Now what the Porlana C is doing is once again triggering and expanding the human collective understanding and acceptance that there is more than simply the human, the Gaian reality. And that is anchoring very deeply and very quickly, by the way, within. So think of it in this way, that we have had a multi-level approach, that we have increasingly had, and particularly in places of sparsely populated areas, the arrival of what we have called our boots on the ground. We have had many, many sightings. So many that anyone who is truly interested or aware is certainly familiar with the fact that they have been sightings of our ships of various kinds and colors and shapes for many years. There have been sightings of landings. There have been encounters with many of your star brothers and sisters. And you recognize them by their smile, yes, but more particularly by the light, by the starlight in their eyes. Always look for the starburst. That is us. And now we change the collective. We trigger that awakening that has always been there, that just has been waiting. And in many ways, yes, this is good news for our relationship with Gaians. But even more importantly than the upgrade in your frequency, is the elimination of these false fears of what is foreign. The false fear of what is alien. You see, we could use that excuse. You would be alien to us. But we know the truth of that situation. You are no more alien than a brother from Sirius or Andromeda or CCC. And what is the commonality? The commonality, sweet angels of light, is we all operate on that frequency of love. Now, often you have said to all of us, but I am the communications officer, I get to speak. But you have said, why do you come? Why are you so eager and interested in our process of becoming, of this ascension, this unfoldment of the plan of the Mother? Why do you want to share your gifts, your technology, your healing? And of course, those who cite such questions come from those old insecurities and suspicions. We come because we contribute and wish to match and be in the sharing of that love and the love in physical reality. No, we are physical. Make no mistake about that. Slightly different, yes. Adjusting and what you can think of if necessary for that fear quotient, shape-shifting, yes. But we come in love. But we also come. Our purpose, collectively and individually, is also the fulfillment of our Mother's plan. We have a piece, and yes, it is interlocked and interwoven with your piece, individually and planetarily. Many times, our beloved Master, our Lord Archangel Michael, has said that you are laying the template, laying the pattern, laying the foundation for this experience of unfoldment to be replicated elsewhere. Now, vibrationally, that is true, because what happens vibrationally as we send this electrical current that fits with your understanding to each of you, it doesn't just stop there, it continues on, and as you integrate and anchor and become, you send the vibration out far beyond this planet. And in so doing, that is the beginning of the laying of the energetic foundation for other planetary systems to also go through this process. But then there is a practicality. When you, and I mean humans, have thought of space travel, you have developed beautiful and functional spacecraft to travel hither and yon. Even Mars is very close. But we do not decry what you are doing. But one of the missing elements in this is that in order for humanity to take the next step with us as sacred partners, your vibratory frequency needs to be in harmony, not just with us, but with the ships, with the white holes and the black holes, so that your consciousness doesn't simply implode and explode with the various energies you will encounter as you travel. Yes, I am talking about each and every one of you having that freedom to travel. Now, we know your yearning. We have not forgotten the Neptune fiasco. But from our perspective, what that undertaking truly was about, yes, before the powers that be threatened to annihilate, but before that, It was our expression of willingness and invitation for you to come on board, which many of you do etherically, mentally, astrally, and physically, often. But it was also an expression of your desire to do this. And we know, and you all know, that the situation of being on ship is simply but a precursor to truly traveling throughout the galaxies and sharing the wisdom, the love, the understanding that you have gleaned from this process of ascension. And also sharing the trials and tribulations, the struggles, the challenges of that process as well. Now, in many ways, both upon Sweet Gaia and elsewhere, it will be easier for other populations and even the population that now is awakening. It will be easier for them because, sweet angels, you have done the groundwork. We, in concert with you, have done the groundwork. So never, please, underestimate the significance and the power of what you have already done. Now the Mother has added her tsunami, which never stopped, but the magnitude of this resurgence is enormous, even for us. Now it is not just you, humans, who are receiving this tsunami. We are as well. And the waves again go out throughout this universe and the multiverse and the omniverse. That continues. Yes, it is that big and that strong. It continues out. What the Mother's tsunami is doing is amplifying the Porlana C. And what the Porlana C is doing as an electrical current is amplifying the tsunami of love. So do not be surprised at the rapidity of change. Do not be surprised if you cannot remember yesterday or a moment ago. Your energetic fields and your capacity to understand in that clarity and purity of the Mother more, in many cases, is wiping out what you think of as your current memories. Now, those current memories, your shopping list, and what you ate for supper yesterday, may have significance for you, and in cases may be worrisome for you that you aren't remembering, and that is why I'm bringing it up. It is insignificant in the expansion of your totality, in your interdimensional fluidity, in your expanded consciousness. And that is exactly where you want to be. This is part and parcel of what you think of as your final step in ascension. And our final step with you. Now, we are on planet, and we are more populous than many think. And as we say, there have been many first contacts and growing awareness. But we do not intend to have our arrival create more of the mayhem and chaos that is currently being diligently removed and washed away, and that is already on the surface, and that you are witnessing even as you formulate that different path. So we do come quietly, joyously. We are bringing presence, and we are doing it right now. We have talked a lot about the tipping point, and normally that discussion has been in the expansion of your love quotient, which the Porlana C is affecting. But it has also been individual insofar as your acceptance, and that is why we tend to use the term Gaians. We do not say Czechoslovakian. We do not say Italian or British. We speak to you as a collective, and as we do that, it is part of the awakening. And your, shall we say, some of your planetary issues, which had need to come to the surface. You cannot continue to poison and sully your beautiful planet and not be aware of it. So the awareness, the growing awareness that this is your planet, this is your Gaia, this is your Earth. For some, that is the way you think of it, and that it must be tended to. And that poisoning and polluting and the results of global warming need to be addressed. So that individual awakening, they do not think of it in terms of I am a galactic citizen, but they are thinking of it as I am a citizen of Earth, not of this or that country or municipality. So that has also been one of those leaps that really simply seem to settle in to human consciousness, not all of them, but most of them. The next step, and the step that occurs with the acceptance of us, and I mean all of us, is that we are not only Gaians, but we are galactic citizens. Now you have taken your place, a planetary place, at the Intergalactic Council decades ago. But most human beings do not think of that or are not aware of that. But that has already taken place and happened. So that is translated. So think of it in that way. You're representatives to, say, a body such as the United Nations, and we use that as an example. Those people, well, some are very ardently nationalist, but think of the worker bees. They tend to think of themselves as earthly citizens, citizens of the world, not simply of that representing certain interests. Because what happens when enveloped and immersed in that environment is that your narrow vision of being just this or that nationality tends to fade rather quickly. We are excluding the politicians in this equation, by the way. And we exclude the politicians in many of our equations. Yes, so we are talking about you and your neighbor and the guy down the street. That awareness, and might we say, that excitement of not only am I a Gaian, but that I am a galactic citizen is exciting. If you use the example of a body like the United Nations, which in fact was patterned upon our councils. Yes, they haven't quite come to fruition, but they're a work in progress. There is the official representative of a planet, but there is a emissary, a diplomatic corps, if you will, that accompanies and does much of the work So yes, many of you are working not only upon ships, but also for the Intergalactic Council. So yes. And the reason that so many of you, yes, wake up tired in the morning, exhausted, you're thinking, oh, when is this going to end? And you call it ascension symptoms. Many of you are off with Michael in war-torn places. Many of you are working with Gabrielle in the central administration of the multiverse. But many of you are also beginning to work with the intergalactic councils, of which there are many, many arenas. I will not use that infamous word called soon, but I do suggest, although some of your timelines have been elongated, they have not been dismissed. Think of it as permission. It is so much more than that. But the permission for us to penetrate your entire planet with the Porlana C. Might I say, and not in a way of ego or arrogance, is to bring everybody up to speed, fast-tracking, so that this awareness and this reunion can take place. So that reunion is not on some distant flow chart, some distant at the time. It is scheduled, and we are ready, and so are you. And so many of you who are aware will be having that awareness sooner, and I mean immediate rather than later. There is an embedded awakening in what I am saying.
And I personally have gotten the message, actually, that there is indeed a split coming. And I just wonder if you could say anything about that.
It is not a split insofar as the way that many human beings think of a split, because that term tends to mean divisiveness. It tends to usually imply hurt and pain, injury and mayhem. So that is not what this is about. We are not aware or see, and we are aware of a lot, of, shall we say, those who are recalcitrant, spinning off to a different universe. Why? Our mother will not do that. She will bring them home, but she will not let them go and cause trouble elsewhere. That is not the plan. So yes, will many leave because they simply don't want to participate? Yes, and that is fine, because in such a state of misery and continued recalcitrance, and think of it, recalcitrance is nothing but misery run by ego. So it is a very sad state of affairs. So those people deserve a fresh start. They need to be brought home and to remember the truth of who they are. Now, what you have been doing as the light bearer community is formulating that different path. So has there and is there a significant fork in the road? Yes, there most certainly is. Now, are we only sending the mother's Porlana C, or she is sending her tsunami only to those who are on path? Absolutely not. If anything, it is the others on the other side of the fork in the road that truly need it even more. But having said that, think of it that you are on a hiking trail and there has been a fork in the road. And so you have taken one trail, and through the forest, you know how it echoes in the silence. Those on the other path, which is treacherous and muddy and filled with quicksand, snakes, spiders, everything you abhor or think you abhor. It is a difficult path. And then they hear you on the other trail saying, oh, this is beautiful. And they hear the giggles and the laughter, and they hear the silence, and they hear the waterfall, and they hear you splashing in the stream, and they're seeing that you are having an easier time. And even for you, for all of you who are light workers and think you are having such a difficult time, your path, because it is based in love, is so much easier, clearer, beautiful than those who have taken the path of denial. So through the forest, you can see them. No, there is no path, but they are trudging through the bush to join you on your path. So is that a split? Yes. But let us also tell you, at the end, those paths do converge. Now, it may not be the happy reunion that was envisioned by the collective in 2012, but they will converge. And either you will choose the path of love, of adherence to the laws, or you will come home. We are talking about this very short period called your ascension process. So it is one of those times you have that saying, are you in or are you out? And if you choose out, then you are choosing a very different course of action, because the Mother's plan of love for this planet that she has been very patient about, it does not go on indefinitely. We, in our journeys of millions of years, have learned that. And if you, for any moment, reflect on that, you know it is the truth. There is only room for love. And let us look at this, because it goes back to what I have originally said about some beings, some people, fearing human mind control. We see your moments of doubt, of am I being played along, with glee, because you are struggling, but because you are in your bodies, conscious, sentient, loving beings who have the power and the intelligence and the emotionality to question. Questioning leads to growth and conscious decisions about how to proceed. So we think it is delightful. Look for us. And when we say we come quietly, this is exactly the environment that we lean towards. It is a housewarming, heartwarming situation. And what we do and our plan, rather than the great spectacle, is to quietly engage in communities, quietly engage in what you think of as neighborhoods. And so we need those who are aware, willing, prepared, able to act as our emissaries, as the introduction service. Not to make it a great event, not to make it with great fanfare, but more in the way of, have you met the new neighbor down the street? Yes, I know they seem a little odd and they're from far away, but you're really going to like them. And they have all these cool gadgets in their house, so why don't we go over? And do not assume that it needs to be just in a city of light, because our arrival and our engagement with the human beings during this transition, getting to know you phase, is necessary everywhere. So, sweet angel, you can do it, and in many ways you have been doing it in New Jersey. You may do it in Colorado. You may do it in California. You may do it in New Zealand, it matters not. What matters, and this is true for each and every one of you, is that you are doing it. And we mean now you will be doing it on a conscious awareness level. Go with my love and go with all of our love. And go with our Porlana C. It is the biggest gift we have to offer you. Farewell.